I can't.
Blood sugar. It's a balancing act that isn't always so sweet. So, what do you know about keeping your levels nice and steady? Well, today you can call Dr. Maggie the Mythbuster because she is debunking the top 5 blood sugar myths that are sabotaging your autoimmunity.
Blood sugar mastery, when we think about the 5 pillars, to me, is the most important and crucial pillar in turning around any autoimmune disease. And yet, it's the game changer that really nobody knows about. And worse yet, your doctor knows even less than you do. And I call that BS. And that's BS for blood sugar. So, today, we're going to go ahead and bust some myths.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Autoimmune Table Talk Live. It's all about BS or blood sugar.
Total BS, which stands for totally blood sugar today.
Total BS today. I'm your co-host,
Yes.
Anna Manuel.
And I'm Maggie, MD, functional and holistic medicine physician and the creator of Transform Protocol to turn around any autoimmune disease naturally.
So this is a topic, Dr. Maggie, that I know so many people have been wanting us to touch on because it is so critical. You mentioned that off the top. It is the most important pillar in turning around autoimmune disease.
It really is. And in the Facebook group the last couple of weeks, people have been asking, we want a blood sugar training, we want a blood sugar workshop. And we've done plenty of those in the past. And for people who are watching right now, in fact, if you're an alumni and you're watching, please comment in the comment section below and tell us how mastering your blood sugar has turned around what with your autoimmunity. I would love the alumni to chime in on that. And if you're watching right now and you have an autoimmune issue going on, I'd love for you to tell me in the comment section more about what's going on with you, because I betcha it's going to be related with blood sugar, and you're going to learn about that today. Here's the thing. I've done plenty of trainings about blood sugar as the root causes of a lot of different issues, and I can list them and I will list them. But as you're typing in the comment section today, I bet you that there is a training and a case study we've already done that covers that specific issue. So if you give us some details, check your request later. We're going to provide you some really helpful resources and trainings, because I've literally have probably taught about 40 hours on social media about various things that blood sugar can impact. And that being said, I'm going to just list off is that people have a lot of myths around what blood sugar problem even is. And I just want to say, first off, top of this is that if you have pain, think blood sugar. If you have hormone problems, imbalances, hot flashes, insomnia, irregular periods, think blood sugar. If you have neuropathy, nerve pain, tinnitus, ringing in your ears, think blood sugar. And here's the other thing. People think infection in my gut, infection in my body. Think blood sugar. It sounds crazy, but it's really not. And I would love later on to actually bring in a panel of people who are currently in our program and even some of the alumni and share with you what some of the surprising results they've gotten as a result of balancing their blood sugar. And so without further ado, what I would love to do is, and we're going to bring on a special guest. We're going to bring in Allie, our functional nutritionist.
Hello. So happy to be here with you ladies.
Allie, you're the guru on blood sugar, period. You help our clients really implement all the blood sugar mastery skills that we have in the program. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you work with our clients in the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Allie, your functional nutritionist here at the program. And so things that I do, I'm constantly not only talking with people about it, but I'm looking at their food journals, looking at what they're eating, how they're pooping. Are they pooping? Because that all plays a role in it too. Their hydration. Yes. And so we are thinking functionally into everything that's happening in their day-to-day to support their long-term goals, which is obviously healing their autoimmune conditions, healing all of their symptoms. And so we're setting up the foundation to make that possible. So that's part of what I do here.
I love that. And here's the thing. I think to me, I bring the medicine and the science behind it. And you're where the pedal hits the metal, because then once people learn the why, then they have to do, right? But
Right.
I always, you know me, and I think if people in the audience and people in our programs understand why we do what we do, then all of a sudden it makes what you do that much impactful. And on the other end of it, we're going to bring on people where they're going to have results to actually prove the points, right?
Mhm.
Results really solidify the why and the how. If you don't have
Mhm.
results, the why and the how is almost like there's no reason
Doesn't make
for
sense. Yeah.
it. Doesn't make
Mhm.
sense.
And Allie, I'm curious to hear from you as you do
Yeah.
work directly with people on what they're eating and how their digestion is going. How quickly can you see a turnaround once you know that they're balancing their blood sugar?
So fast, so fast. And I can't tell you how many clients we get coming into the program who are so adamant. They're so like holding on so tight to what they've been doing for all of these years. But I do this, but it's worked for me. And I always say, this is what I always say. You're in this program. And I don't mean that disparagingly. I mean, you invested in a high-end program because you need help. You have to let some of that go for now. I'm not saying that that's a horrible way to be and that it's wrong, because it's not. It's right for some people. It's not right for you right now. And so I'm constantly saying that to people, please just let it go for now. Trust the process. We have to let it go. But they come in like, no, but it works.
You know what it is? It's a concept I call putting it on the shelf.
Mhm.
Like for now, just put that on the shelf. And that these are some of the myths we're going to be busting through.
Mhm.
The interesting thing is that I think traditionally the way that we think about blood sugar, a lot of people are going to just think, I can tell you from this end, we talk to about 100 people a week who are interested in learning more and joining our program and turning around their autoimmunity. And I would say 50% of them think they do. 80%, 50 to 80% of them think I got blood sugar licked. I cut out sugar. I'm fine. And I like get flabbergasted and I start laughing. I kind of, when I hear about this, I'm kind of like, because I think, and it's not their fault. It's that they think I'm not a diabetic, so I don't have a blood sugar problem. But yet they're telling me all their symptoms, Allie. I mean, they're telling us, oh, I have all this pain. I have anxiety. I can't sleep. I have pain. I have neuropathy.
But I don't eat any sugar.
And I don't eat any sugar. And I'm tired as heck. And I got this infection. I don't have a blood sugar problem, though. We hear this all the time. And I can tell you, everyone who's listening right now, comment in the comment section if any of that sounds like you. Okay. Because if any of that sounds like you, which I just mentioned 100% of people with autoimmune disease, you better comment in the comment section and say, yes, that's me. And tell me what part of it sounded like you, because you've got blood sugar issues and it's the major reason that's triggering your autoimmunity.
Well, and it's so interesting for me to hear you talk about neuropathy and pain and some of these other issues that I would never have associated with being a blood sugar problem. When I think about blood sugar, so many people think about, oh, maybe I feel lightheaded or dizzy and my blood sugar's low, but it can really be so much more and pervasive into so many other aspects of your life.
Well, last week we did a live POTS, right? And POTS is, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And yet so many people with autoimmune disease do have a lot of those symptoms, or some of those symptoms. They can have vertigo, they can be dizzy, they can have blood pressure going up and down, heart rate going up and down, nausea, some of the typical symptoms that we think that's related to blood sugar, which to me, POTS is one of the non-autoimmune diseases that's actually an autoimmune disease. That's the poster child for what can go wrong when you have blood sugar problems. But people don't just have POTS. Everybody with POTS have tons of other autoimmune targets of attack, tons of other symptoms. And so for me, it's just an example, but at the same time, what about all these other symptoms that we don't associate it with it, right? And Carol just said, yeah, I was pre-diabetic, but I didn't know it was related to my pain. And you don't even have to be a pre-diabetes, right? So pain has a lot to do with it. And people don't realize that when your blood sugar is high, for example, you go high, low, high, low. People with autoimmune disease go high, low all the time. They shift really quickly. But every time it goes into high, your body sends insulin to it and says, I need to drop that to a more normal level. But where does that sugar go? It goes into fat, which is stored in your liver. This is the number one reason why almost everybody with autoimmune disease have fatty liver and liver problems, which then causes what downstream? Thyroid hormone activation problems. So they have thyroid symptoms. Or number two, all their hormones can't break down in their body because the liver is trying to do that work. So there's a huge connection between hormones and blood sugar that we just cannot escape. And yet none of your doctors is making that connection. None of them are trained around this. So that's why, as a result, people will tell us, oh, I don't have a blood sugar problem, yet they list all these symptoms.
Fascinating. And so you have to stop the blood sugar wackiness of going up and down and to keep it steady so that then you can stop all of the downstream effects of all of the other issues you're having in your body. But if you don't get blood sugar handled, you're not going to be able to really tackle anything else, is what it sounds like.
That is absolutely correct. And we have case studies we're going to be bringing in right now. And I feel so blessed. We have several people that some are currently in our program. Some have been through our program in the past. But I want to actually show what are the phases of autoimmunity that's been impacted by this blood sugar. What are their diagnoses? What are their symptoms? And what are some of their ahas and outcomes as a result of balancing the blood sugar? So, Anne, I would love for you to welcome them in.
Yeah, let's bring them all in. And as we bring them in too, we will go through the top 5 myths as well. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us. We have Amanda, Tara, and Chris. Amanda, can you just introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Amanda. I live in rural farm country, Indiana. I am mother to 5 grown children, and I'm the executive director of a family homeless shelter.
The land of sweet corn.
Yes, ma'am.
And Amanda, I forgot, what was your diagnosis and top 3 symptoms, if you have a diagnosis?
I didn't have an official AI diagnosis. I just had a ton of symptoms. My top 3 was severe chronic fatigue, extreme neuropathy in my legs and in my hands, and I would have flares of joint pain that would literally make me unable to walk.
So pain, neuropathy, fatigue, and mobility problems, correct?
Yes.
I'd love anybody in the audience who identifies with some of these symptoms to type in chat. Let's have you show some support for Amanda. And if those symptoms are affecting you, comment in the chat below. That'd be super helpful. Tara, you're next.
Hey, I'm Tara. I'm a nurse. I live in Virginia, and I have 2 children. And
Yeah, go ahead.
okay. My diagnosis was undifferentiated connective tissue disorder, and GERD or reflux, and POTS. Those are my main ones.
That's it.
Just a little.
Well, there's more. I'm just like,
She said those are my main ones.
yeah,
Enough.
those are the primary ones.
Well, and if anybody with autoimmune disease is on the show, if you told them, tell us every symptom, we'd be here for 20 minutes for each person, right?
Yeah.
There's so many different targets of autoimmune attack, which is why keyword I said top 3.
All right, Tara, and we'll talk a little bit about how blood sugar impacted you as well in just a bit. But Chris, let's say hello to you now.
Hello, everybody. I'm Chris. I'm a firefighter paramedic by trade. I'm here in California. I got a couple of boys that are grown up these days. And I was diagnosed with polyarthritis. The symptoms that I had were lots of intermittent pain and swelling in my feet, behind my knees, and my back, really deep achy joints. And I had neuropathy in my hands, where just numbness and tingling, and but that's getting better now.
Well, and I would love to hear now, we have lots of different diagnoses and no diagnosis, lots of different symptoms here. No one mentioned insomnia, and I know somebody here has a ton of insomnia.
Yeah. I go through that. Yeah.
Weight, how many people have had struggled with weight? Yes. And how many people out there in the audience are struggling with it, right? How many are in here out of the 3 of you were struggling with tons of hormonal symptoms? Hot flashes, insomnia, irritability. Chris, what were your hormonal symptoms?
I'm sorry, were you talking to me?
What were your hormonal symptoms? Because we don't think of men as hormonal, but men have tons of hormones.
Yeah, I was having pain, a lot of pain. I was having a lot of lethargy, feeling weak and tired a lot, dragging in the morning. After I found out that, my mornings are a little sluggish with adrenal fatigue. But those were the really big ones, I think just
Well, then let's go across the board. What as a result of the program and specifically blood sugar mastery, what was the biggest 1 or 2 symptoms that really dramatically improved as a result of blood sugar mastery? Amanda?
Oh my goodness. The fatigue is much better. I can sleep at night and wake up in the morning and make it through my work day and have energy left at the end of the day. Whereas like before the program, I literally had to sleep all day Saturday just to be able to function from my Sunday through Friday. So that was huge. And then I've seen massive improvement in the pain and burning in my feet. Yeah. For the top 2, I could go on and on.
We will. We're going to get there because when we get to the myths, you guys get to jump in. What about you, Tara?
Definitely the dizziness. I was having that every day, and I don't anymore. Yeah.
No more pots, people. Chris, what about you?
Well, I think I've noticed improvements in all the ones that I've mentioned, but the biggest one was the neuropathy in my hands. I was having like pins and needles. Felt like I had a roll of dimes in the pads of my hands, and that's gone away.
Okay, let's talk about now. All of these people came in, no matter what their diagnosis was, had some preconceptions about blood sugar that you all in the audience have as well. So I'm going to have you guys fess up. It's their turn to fess up. We're going to be a confessional for our panel here because we're going to start busting some myths. And I want you in the audience, as I go through a myth, if you believe it, I want you to type it in the comment section. Be honest, okay? Because I believe these myths too, and so did these people. And as we go through these myths, I'd love our panel to chime in on what they used to believe and what really blew or busted this myth for them. So it's not just me busting myths. This is real people, real results. Let's have them help us bust these myths as well. And you in the audience, let's have you play along if you believe one of these myths and tell us about that in the comment section. So, Anne, what's myth number 1?
Here we go with myth number 1 of blood sugar myth. Fasting is the solution to autoimmunity.
Who believed that? How many people actually tried intermittent fasting here and thought that was the be-all? All 3 of you?
Yeah.
I don't blame you because it's everywhere. Like when you read everything about decreasing inflammation or even some autoimmune stuff, they say go and try intermittent fasting. Well, I want to ask you guys, did you have success with intermittent fasting with turning around your autoimmunity? Was it helpful? I mean, if it is, be honest. Tell me about that. Tara?
I mean, I didn't know it wasn't helpful until I started eating differently. But, yeah, I felt I did it for a couple of years, and but I just didn't understand that the dizziness was connected to blood sugar. And then as soon as I changed that, it like within, I don't know, maybe a week or 2, it was gone.
A week or 2, POTS is gone, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but I want to actually go into why intermittent fasting isn't, I'm going to go into the medicine and the biochemistry behind this a little bit for you guys. And then as I'm talking about this, Amanda, Chris, think about why you believed it and did it work for you or not. So if you think about it, people don't realize that people with autoimmune disease is actually a very specific population, okay? Anytime you prescribe a certain type of diet to everybody, I always say it's a generalized diet that's personalized to no one, okay? That's really important. And Allie, you know that. I mean, it's so funny. People think functional nutritionist, of course she's going to recommend this diet or that diet. But here's the thing. People don't realize, none of your doctors realize that when you have an autoimmune disease, it makes our blood sugars very brittle. What that means is we get highs and lows, a lot more swings than the normal population. And that's because there's multiple mechanisms in autoimmunity, including autoimmune attack on your pancreas, including digestion problems that's inherent, including certain hormonal imbalances that are really common for people with autoimmune disease. It makes us super susceptible to really high and then really low blood sugar. So it's going up and down the whole time. And unfortunately for us, when it goes up and down, it's not just a little dizziness. That up and down triggers an increase in the autoimmune attack, no matter what the target is. If you're Hashimoto's, it's going to make your Hashimoto's worse. If you have a mixed connective tissue disorder, it's going to make pain worse. So ulcerative colitis, Crohn's is going to make that worse. So it's the effect on each person is very different. But what I have found is that when you fast somebody who has autoimmune disease, it amplifies the blood sugar problems because they will spend a long time really severely hypoglycemic. And then when they eat, it goes super high. But those periods of extreme hypoglycemia actually really triggers worsening of autoimmune disease attack. So it doesn't work for everybody, specifically in people, especially with a lot of autoimmune attack. It can actually make your autoimmunity worse. So I'd love, Amanda or Chris, do you have any feedback on what your experience was, and was that true for you?
Yeah, I kind of the way that the lifestyle was, I kind of wake up early, and would just have coffee, wouldn't eat basically till lunchtime. Didn't want to bog myself down a belly full of food, that kind of thing. I really wasn't into it at first for the weight loss thing that a lot of my friends at the fire station and stuff were,
Yeah.
And then I would eat a big lunch, and then kind of go throughout the day, and then have a big dinner about 6 o'clock, and then not eat anymore.
Right.
And then whether I'm waking up and leaving, I'm going to go recreate. I don't want a belly full of food, or I'm going to stay at work and do it. So that was kind of the route that I was in.
Yeah.
And, it's funny because now that I've gotten onto this, a new program of waking up, eating within an hour, making a small balanced meal, and doing it for a couple of months, I noticed a tremendous difference in my energy, for sure. And then, of course, some of the symptoms have gone away too. So, I've definitely noticed a difference, a big thing in the energy. You know what I mean? I would sometimes kind of take a little cat nap at 1 o'clock if after everything was done. You know what I mean? And yeah.
But people don't realize is that that's really a severe hypoglycemic episode.
Right.
Like I wonder how many people don't realize that when they're flaring, the symptoms are flaring in the afternoon or in the middle of the night, or they wake up in the morning with a lot of pain. I don't think they realize that it's from the swing from high to low blood sugar, right? I mean, Allie, what do you think is the biggest challenge in working with people who really are stuck to this idea about intermittent fasting?
Believing and trusting that. I mean, what I was going to interject when Chris was talking about how he was starting his day. That's one of the first things that I usually am telling people to I was going to try to say it nicely, but coffee. I don't want you having coffee on an empty stomach. It's the first thing, but that's another thing that people are so like, I have to hold on to. And so it's I guess because, Tara was saying that she did it for 2 years. Like, you get so committed to something and you think that it works because it works you see celebrities or professional athletes, and you're seeing like all of these great bodies, and you're like, well, it must be working. And again, they don't have all of those symptoms, or maybe they will have those symptoms down the line. I don't know. But it's the belief that you won't gain weight by adding more food in, because that's what I don't want to eat too much. And also just trusting the process that I'm going to go off onto a tangent. There's so much I could say on this topic. But it's honestly, it's just trusting the process that you have to sometimes let go of what you did before and trust something new, because if you want something new, you have to do something that you haven't done before. And so,
I'm going to jump in here, Allie, because this, I think, is going to jump into our next myth. And the thing that I was going to go in the order, but I'm actually going to put number 4 up, because a lot of people, they intermittent fast. Not only do they intermittent fast thinking, I'm not going to eat as much as a result of fasting, right? But underlying that is the belief that if I ate on a regular basis, I'm going to gain weight. And that is a huge myth. And I don't know how many people in the audience, do you guys think that in the audience, and how many of you guys thought, like, if I eat regularly, I am going to gain weight? And they're so scared of putting food in their mouths outside of the fasting window, or even eating. So many people have such a traumatic relationship with food and their weight. They think if I'm going to put food in my mouth, it means weight. So how many of you guys, just a show of hands, thought if I ate regularly, I am going to gain weight?
Or that snacking is bad. Oh, we're not supposed to snack.
Snacking is bad, right? So let me ask this, which is how, as a huge part of our program is the opposite of intermittent fasting, is telling people to bookend their day. Got to eat right away in the morning before bed. You got to eat dinner and you got to eat a snack before bed. I want to find out from the 3 of you, I'm sure that was hard in the beginning, but was there something that was a major aha that really brought it home for you? It's like, oh my God, this is really working. This is what I should be doing instead. Anyone? Amanda.
Yeah. So before the program, I would wake up every morning so nauseous, like sick to my stomach and feelings of anxiety every single morning.
Yeah.
And I had bought wholeheartedly into this, not only intermittent fasting, but keto as well.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I would wake up so nauseous. I was like, oh, even if I wanted to eat, I can't eat. And I remember on, some pod calls, I'd be talking to my pod mates. I'm like, I'm so nauseous in the mornings. I know we're supposed to eat. What am I? So I actually, to kind of break that and get me, out of that, I started doing smoothies with collagen added to it in the morning to kind of start to wake my digestive system back up. And
Yes.
It was really shocking to me the first morning I woke up hungry instead of nauseous.
Yes.
And the first morning I woke up without feeling anxious was amazing. And so that was the beginning of my, yeah, maybe this really is going to work.
That really is the very next day. This is less than 24 hours, Allie. Like you're saying, people can get results in as quick as 12 to 24 hours.
Immediately. And then they're like, but I didn't used to be hungry before. And now I'm hungry. And I'm like, yes, that's good. You want to be hungry. That means you're metabolizing food. You've been on empty. Yes, congratulations. I want you to be hungry.
And
Yeah, I think that's bad.
Yeah, because I went from when I joined the program, I almost had a fear of food because every time I would eat, I would get some sort of side effect, whether I'd be nauseous or a little bit after I eat, I would just be lethargic. Or I'd have joint pain. And I was like, man, I can't figure out how to eat right to feel better. And I've tried literally every diet plan under the sun. And I'm like, I just keep, weight is always in the back of your mind, I guess, as a woman. I was like, I keep gaining weight and I didn't have this problem 10 years ago. So yeah, I'm not as afraid of food anymore. I'm learning to trust food and trust my body and make the right choices. But it was a big aha moment.
Was waking up with energy, without the nausea, hungry, and not in pain.
Yeah.
24 hours later. Anyone else have a story about something where, eating regularly really created some immediate results for you?
I have one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I could even just jump in because I was doing that as well. As I wasn't eating, I would get up and I would work out right away. And I wasn't eating before I was working out. And I would get off of my bike and I would feel really lightheaded and I would feel anxious. And I saw somebody else mention that too. The anxiety starts to creep in. And is that part of it as well? Because
yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm curious how many people here and in the audience right now, you're dealing with anxiety. You're dealing with maybe sometimes even panic attacks, and you didn't have it before,
right?
Like this is something that's happened within a couple years or recently, and you're going to your doctors and they're telling you your heart is fine, your blood work is fine, nothing is wrong, and you're like, but why is it in the morning I get panicky? Why is it in the middle of the night I get panicky? Why does my heart just go fast really all the time? Like I think I'm gonna die with all this chest pressure, shortness of breath. Believe it or not, the major mechanism that's causing anxiety, especially new onset of it for a lot of us that's associated with autoimmunity, is actually having high-low blood sugar episodes. And so if that's the cause, it can be eliminated in 12 to 24 hours.
Yes. Because I would notice that as soon as I would have something to eat, okay, then my anxiety would fade away. So I was like, okay, this isn't just in my head. Perhaps it's in my gut, or what's going on here? Because so I stopped doing that. Thanks to you and listening to what you have to say about blood sugar. And now I eat first thing in the morning. I have to get something in me before I work out.
Somebody actually wrote in the comment section something that they eat for breakfast that's really balanced or drink for breakfast. And Amy Flowers mentioned that she was doing the green tea matcha latte. I have a video that I created using how to make your own green tea matcha latte with our Pro Collagen WB and our Love Our Greens in it in a yummy warm beverage. The other thing is you don't have to eat it you can drink it. And I would love the alumni that are in our audience to write down one thing that they eat in the morning. Like, tell us something that you've eaten in the morning recently that was really blood sugar mastery galore. And Allie, can you explain, just give a hot tip to someone? What does it mean to have a breakfast that has blood sugar mastery wrapped all around it? What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, so we want the trifecta. We want to have fat, fiber, and protein. And that all those components that people get so caught up on, carbs, I want to look at it as fiber. We need fiber, fat, and protein because it helps keep you satiated. It keeps your brain focused. It feeds your muscles, gives you energy, helps with digestion, helps with detoxification, and all of that combined keeps your blood sugar balanced. And without that, so many times, or at least the American way is the way I grew up, you have a bagel and maybe a bagel and coffee, or maybe cereal and orange juice. And so we're having carbs, and yet we're such a carb averse society, but we're starting our day with so carb heavy. And what does that do? Let me back up. When you wake up in the morning, you're on empty because you've been fasting all night. That's why breakfast is break fast, right? And then so you go and have the carbs because you're on empty, and that's what you need. Your body knows, I need sugar. Carbs is going to give you that sugar hit, but when you have it in the form of a bagel or a croissant or Starbucks, whatever,
Cereal.
then yeah, I grew up on cereal and orange juice. That was my healthy, Honey Nut Cheerios. But it just spikes your blood sugar. And then what happens? You're going to crash. And then it sets you up for this spike and dip all day long. Yeah. If you have that fat, fiber, and protein first thing in the morning, you're going like this throughout the day.
Yeah.
You're cruising instead of, but that morning piece is so crucial.
Well, and that whole issue that we talked about was people think eating more regularly means that you're going to gain weight. Is that true? I'm going to ask our panel. How many people believe this, that eating more regularly, which means balancing your blood sugar, means you're going to gain weight? Mm-hmm. That's the fear. That's why they're afraid to eat too, Allie, right? Mm-hmm. Is that true?
I hear that all the time.
Did you, eating more regularly, did you guys gain weight? What happened to you?
I actually ended up losing weight after in a couple of months. So I found that by, doing what Allie's talking about. And, I think inherently when you start thinking, okay, I'm going to start eating more food, but I'm making smaller portions of the right food and, chugging away through the day that way. And, I'm at about 4 or 5 pounds now after just 2 months, but, the energy is better, which is good.
Mm-hmm. And they're asking, what is an example of a balanced breakfast? And I think Allie touched on it. You said fiber, fat, protein.
And that can look different for everybody. I personally, I like Amanda's route, the smoothie. That's how I like to do in the morning, but it doesn't have to look like that. And I think, and Maggie talks about this all the time in the program, you have to also let go of your notion of what breakfast needs to look like. It doesn't have to be cereal or eggs and bacon. You can have dinner for breakfast. You just need food. You just need fat, fiber, protein. So whatever that means to you, it can be meat, it can be non-meat, it can be cauliflower and broccoli and all of the cruciferous vegetables, which we don't typically think of as breakfast food.
Allie, we love the idea. People say, oh, how about breakfast for dinner? Why not dinner for breakfast? Why aren't we eating leftover dinner for breakfast?
Do that.
Yeah. I know, I do that too. But there are typical examples like avocado toast. You can really juice up avocado toast, and adding an egg on it even, and throwing some of our Pro MCT-C8 oil on it. I mean, there's so many ways, right? That's a breakfast that could be balanced. In our recipe book for people in our program, we have a breakfast porridge using different grains, and you can add Pro MCT oil to it. You can add collagen to it. There's so many different things that you can do. But for those of you who want to see actually maybe next week, but I'll do it again. But I made during the water challenge, I made a green matcha latte using matcha powder. Love my greens, our greens fiber powder, plus Pro Collagen WBR protein powder, juiced it up and blended it up, and you got a hot cup of yumminess for breakfast. I like drinking my breakfast, right? So there's so many things, right? But back to weight though, Amanda, you mentioned that you felt like eating regularly didn't gain weight. What happened with your weight?
Yeah, so I am about 3.5 weeks out of the program now, and I've lost 30 pounds.
What?
Yeah. And really without, like, my coworkers and my friends, they're all like, we can really tell that something's different. And I'm like, well, it's this autoimmune program I did and I'm continuing to do, but like, I made the changes that the program says to make. But outside of that, I wasn't in the program for weight loss. I was in the program for other things. So this was a huge bonus. I didn't go add in crazy exercise. I didn't change up, anything else in my lifestyle other than applying the 5 pillars that are in the program. And I'm like, yay, I almost get to go buy new clothes because nothing fits anymore.
Great problem to have.
But that goes to the thing where people come in programs. Some people can be fixated on 1 or 2 symptoms, and I tell them they're thinking too small. Don't think small. Like, she didn't come in to lose weight, but what happens when you balance your hormones? What happens when you sleep better at night? What happens when you have more energy in the morning? What happens when you wake up in the day and you're not nauseated?
Right?
And I think
A whole new world.
Chris, you also lost some weight, didn't you?
I did lose some weight. Yeah, I did. And I was not, again, I was like her. That was not a goal. I wasn't thinking anything about that. I mean, I've always conscientious of it as you get older, of course, but I was thinking more, all right, that's not where my focus is right now. And it just happened to go that way because, that's the way it went.
Well, and here's the thing. We're talking about breakfast a lot, and people think that it's all about, we're just saying you have to eat a breakfast. But here's the thing is, Allie, you mentioned snacking and how important that is. But I want to blow up another myth, which is, how many people have heard that eating before bed is bad for you?
Yes.
Yeah. And I call BS, blood sugar. So I want to know what really cemented that thought to you was, I really need to eat this before bed because it is a game changer for me. I think, Tara.
I have a good story. Yeah.
Okay, let's go Tara, and then we're going to.
So with having GERD, all of my doctors had said, don't eat before bed, which I understand. You're laying down. It's not a great time for reflux. But obviously the GERD is a part of a bigger issue that honestly the program pretty much solved anyway. But what I would say is that, so during the program, I pretty quickly gave up intermittent fasting and started eating regularly and eating blood sugar balanced. I hadn't started eating at night yet because I was still worried to make that change. And I ended up deciding I wanted to try a continuous glucose monitor just to see like what my blood sugars were doing throughout the day. Right. And what I found, which I wasn't, I was a little bit expecting because Maggie had said that would probably be the case, but I ended up finding out that like all throughout the night I was having blood sugars down into the 40s. Yeah. I had no idea. Obviously, I'm asleep. But it was interesting because I could see on my Fitbit watch that I would wake up exactly. I mean, I don't remember waking up, but I would wake up exactly when the blood sugars dipped down. And then you have that cortisol response. So then your blood sugars back up. Anyway, so it was happening multiple times every single night. And so I had the monitor for 2 weeks. So a couple days after watching that happen, I was like, all right, I got to try something. So then I started doing like a collagen tea before bed and it completely went away.
Wow. But think about this. What I think a lot of people don't realize is that she had GERD, which is heartburn. A lot of people in the audience have heartburn, and your doctor told you don't eat before bed.
Right.
Okay. GERD, heartburn is not a sleeping or positional problem. It can be made worse positionally, but the most important reason why people have GERD or heartburn is a digestion problem.
Right.
So none of these doctors with GERD addresses the underlying issue, the core issue, which is one of the in our pillars is digestion, right? Yeah. So by not addressing the digestion problem, they then tell you don't eat before bed, which then causes you to be low blood sugar all night long, causing huge hormonal swings, As a result, Tara's cortisol was so crazy sky high, by the way, which causes you to gain weight, which causes anxiety, tachycardia, blood pressure, and morning fatigue, right? And then on top of it, when you have low blood sugar, you don't make hormones. So certain hormones could be really low, and you don't break down hormones, which then causes certain hormones to be really out of balance. So she as a result of not addressing a digestion problem, telling her not to eat before bed, they created a hormonal shit show, which then fed and made her autoimmune disease worse. Is this
And can I dispel? Yeah, can I add on to that with the other
Please.
myth is that, so the other part of that is, I think where it comes from is we're not saying eat a meal before bed. And
Right.
that's what I think people are getting confused by. And I keep saying a snack is a snack. A snack is a snack. A snack is not a meal. A snack is a snack. A snack keeps your blood sugar balanced. It's not a meal. Because if you were going to have dinner, like if your bedtime is 11 o'clock and you have dinner at 10, well, Maggie said to eat before bed. No, that's not what she's saying. Because you need your body to have time to digest. If you're going to have a big, heavy meal before dinner or before bed, that is going to be a problem. We're saying have a snack. Because for most people, there's a lot of hours between when they eat and when they go to bed.
But Allie, a lot of people think a snack before bed is a piece of pie, a snickerdoodle cookie, or a shot of alcohol, or some cider to drink right before bed.
Right.
Like,
So then there's that side of it. Now we've gone
That's
too far the other way.
That's the typical American snack before
Right.
bed. So what is
No.
a snack, Allie? What the heck
So
is a snack?
Not that. So a snack can be a fat bomb, not a tray of fat bombs, a fat bomb.
Tell people what that is for people who aren't familiar with the recipe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a ball of fat, but it can be made different ways. So there is coconut or almond butter, maybe some cacao, and it's just rolled up, nuts and seeds or coconut rolled up in a ball. And I love them. I honestly, it's a great snack. It's a snack that I would recommend for people who are having those morning workouts and who need a little something, because maybe you have a big workout and you don't want to have a big heavy thing. Having 2 fat bombs or 2 like protein balls, it's giving you something so that you can have the energy to sustain. And so I love that as before bed. I love pumpkin seeds before bed because that also has the added benefit of the tryptophan.
I totally love pumpkin seeds, and this pumpkin seeds are so high in omega-3s as well.
Yeah, it's so good. And then so it's what we call in functional medicine the meat pill. And so the pumpkin seeds, that can be a vegan version, but you can also do a piece of turkey.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It gives you that tryptophan. It helps with your melatonin and helps you get into sleep. And so having like a little roll up before bed.
Strategic eating. There's like a full strategy and education around this. It's not some rando like I'm gonna grab a handful of Junior Mints and call it good or whatever. Like, or you have to even create it. Like the fat bomb, for example. We have shared our fat bomb recipe to the Facebook group, and it is a hit. It is a hit. If you guys are interested in the fat bomb recipe, we have several posts in the past that we can tag you in. So if you want the fat bomb recipe, type fat bomb recipe, but you got to tell me something about you and your autoimmunity. It's a trade, and then we'll tag you in it. Tell me something going on and put fat bomb recipe. Let's do it.
Allie, you were talking about snacking and how sometimes people will just eat those 3 meals and hours have gone by between those meals. Is there any general guideline you would give someone to say how often you should be snacking?
Oh, I love that question, Anne. That's such a good question. Yes. I would say 2 to 3 hours is a good sweet spot. Yeah. And I also want to say it's important to check in. So it's not saying it's because some people get really caught up in numbers. It's 2 hours I have to eat. And so then they're eating every 2 hours throughout the day. And it's like, no. I want you to check in. How am I feeling at 2 hours? Am I lightheaded? Can I not focus? Is my stomach growling? Am I shaky? Am I irritable? Then you want to go, oh, okay, maybe I need a little something. Or maybe, oh, you know what? I'm good. I can wait until I can go a little bit more time. And then at 3 hours, I'm going to have a snack because I know I have lunch like an hour and a half after that. And so, I'll be fine. I need something, right? So at 2 to 3 hours, but you want to check in with yourself. Some people need it a little sooner. And that's okay because they freak out about that too. It's okay. Check in with yourself. And then we have to that's when we take a look at what your overall day is and like, why are you getting hungry so soon after eating? We have to just look at everything.
But that's why reviewing food journals with you, being able to meet with you several times a week and, on regularly is really huge. I mean, did you guys take advantage of having a food journal review in the program with Allie?
Yeah.
And that's things.
Amanda.
But But having a different eye on it, an outside eye, is really important. I love being able to have Allie look at my food journal and be like, do this, not that. That to me is like huge, right? Then it's not going to be so, do this, not that. Oh, okay, I can do that. You know, like people think this whole thing like breakfast. I'm just like, hey, what you had at dinner on that food journal right there, make a little extra of that. Have that drumstick in the morning for breakfast. That leftover tray baked vegetable right there, heat that right up. 30-second heat up, you're ready to go. I'm like, it's that easy. Yes, it's called do this, not that. It can be that easy.
Can I chime in?
Yeah, Amanda.
I want to encourage everybody to do that because I didn't, and blood sugar mastery is one of still something that I'm still working on, and something I still struggle with on some days, and I will be booking and now paying out of pocket to do something that was free in the program to meet with Allie, because every time I think I have it under control, then something surprises me. And so it's a learning experience. And one of the things that I think Allie hit on that is major is learning to listen to your body, because I was one of those people that set that timer and was like, okay, as long as I'm eating every 2.5 hours, I'm good. But that wasn't what my body needed. And so I've had to learn to listen to my body. And now that I missed out on being able to talk through those things with Allie because I didn't submit my food journals. Now I watched everybody else's and I'm like, I'm learning so much from them. But so now I'm going to pay out of pocket and I'll be seeing Allie soon.
Great. It's so nice to meet you finally.
Hey, Allie, I know I want to respect your time. Did you have to hop off? If not, if so, you
No,
can
I'm okay.
hop off.
I'm okay today.
Because we have a last
Thank you.
myth, and this is a really common myth. The last myth is that unless you're a diabetic or pre-diabetic, you don't have a blood sugar problem. Ooh. And that's the thing is, I was pre-diabetic. I was a diabetic during both my pregnancies, and we're drained in, and it was drilled in my head that if you're a diabetic, then you have high blood sugar problems. That's all you have to worry about. So in that sense, when I was no longer diabetic after pregnancy, let's say, I was like, oh, then there isn't a problem, right? Because I'm not a diabetic anymore. But then still, the secondary message of that is only high blood sugar is the problem. And the problem was I have Hashimoto's, I have several autoimmune diseases going on. High blood sugar actually isn't as much of my problem as being in low blood sugar or the quick swing back and forth. So there was a lot of myths around if you're a diabetic, you have a blood sugar problem. Is that true? Any of you believe this? I'm not a diabetic. I don't have a blood sugar problem. How many of you in the audience and how many of you believe that?
I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Amanda?
Yeah, before the program, yeah.
And Karen, when you came in, you're a nurse. You probably thought, I don't have a blood sugar problem.
Yeah. I have diabetes in my family. And so for like my regular checkups, my primary had once done an A1C, which was perfect, so that's all they use. But I think what's interesting about what I was thinking about later after wearing the continuous glucose monitor was I was thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, my average blood sugar was perfect, but you're averaging highs and lows. So that's not ideal. You want to hang out in the middle. So my A1C is probably identical now, but my blood sugar control is completely different. So
Right.
And a number of comments popping up too, saying people believe that before doing the program, and some still were believing that probably up until right now.
Well, and that was the thing was, you don't know how many times on the phones people would tell us like, oh, I'm not diabetic, I don't have a blood sugar problem, or, oh, the blood sugar piece, I don't need help with that. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys did, or how many of you out there watching in the audience right now saying, oh, blood sugar is not the thing I need help with. If you have any of those symptoms, think about these symptoms of our panel right here. We had POTS symptoms, we had fatigue, we had neuropathy, we had joint pain, we had heartburn, we had digestion problems, we have insomnia, we had hormonal symptoms. I mean, how many of you with those symptoms are looking at me right now and saying, oh, I didn't think I had a blood sugar problem? Well, I can tell you right now, your number one problem is your blood sugar.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Amanda?
Absolutely.
Right.
I went kind of another level too, where I did the, fasting blood sugar, right, with the blood work, and you kind of like, well, okay, I verified it, AC1's great. My, fasting blood sugar is on, and you're like, I'm cool with sugar. And,
Yeah.
Well, yes, this impacted your surgery. You recently had surgery, and what were you expecting, and what was the outcome with your neuropathies?
Well, yeah, I was expecting to have, you know, a lot of pain and a lot of swelling, you know, with the hand, and it was the opposite, actually. You know, it actually did come out the opposite, where I've had a great experience with it, and as the weeks have gone on, I get my cast off tomorrow. But it was just the opposite, the neuropathy and the pain. It was typical when I'd wake up in the morning, you know, where you would just, I could feel my hands just tingling, and you know, feeling really fat, and you know, the pads would just be clumsy and painful, and it's just the total opposite now. It feels great. So
Allie, I would love to ask you, like, this whole diabetic thing. I mean, what's the most, with this myth, what's the most common question that you get that you have to answer about people, as far as like, do I need, I'm not a diabetic, why do I have to deal with this? You know, I don't have crazy ass high blood sugars. My A1C is fine.
They're not really looking at it as a thing. They're not realizing how much control they actually have over their blood sugar. And the other thing I feel like people are not realizing that we do in the program is how much, so besides what they're eating throughout the day, what they're eating that might be causing inflammation in their body also affects their blood sugar.
The food
And that's
mapping.
something, the food mapping, and that's something, I'm sorry?
Food mapping and digestion.
Yes. And
Oh.
so that gets, it's not talked about. And so that's something I'm constantly talking about is, hey, these things are causing inflammation in your body. That's going to spike. It's going to set off a whole cascade of hormones and keep your blood sugar elevated. It's going to stress out your adrenals. So that's the big surprise that people have, is like, oh, I didn't, they just don't realize how much influence they have over their blood sugar.
Yeah.
Oh, it runs in my family, it's inevitable, or it doesn't run in my family, I'm fine. No, you're not.
You know, it's interesting, Allie, that you're bringing in the other pillars, because I was talking to Vanessa earlier today, and she was talking about her daughter who is struggling with autism, ADD spectrum disorder. And a lot of times people think it's just like, they might think it's just one pillar that's super important. I know we're talking about total BS today, which is totally blood sugar day. And it was interesting because, you know, her daughter was struggling with PCOS, estrogen dominance, a lot of digestive issues, a lot of pain and mobility issues. And yet, you know, it was like, if there's one thing, you know, and I was trying to point out that the blood sugar problems is linked with her PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's linked to the pain. The other thing too is that the child is a carboholic, right? But at the same time, even if, let's say you were like, I'm going to balance fat, protein, and fiber. And she brought this up. Very smart mom said, well, if we don't know what her food sensitivities is, if we don't know if there's foods that are causing an increased autoimmune attack, wouldn't she still have quite a bit of blood sugar fluctuations? Bingo. And then I said, and you know, you and the entire family, based on what we talked about, she has a ton of digestion issues. And even if you were to know her food sensitivities and what foods are triggering inflammation, if she is not properly digesting and absorb her foods, can she still have high, low blood sugar all the time as a result of it because of poor digestion? And it was like, it was the first time this mom felt really validated that she knew all these things were connected. She has a child who's suffering with all these symptoms, and yet there's like answers, but it's like pieces of a puzzle that needs to fit together to work together to be a solution to that problem.
Yeah. It's not just about diabetes. It's something that we can control every day with every bite that we eat, and we should. Otherwise, we're going to have that cascade. You don't even want to get to the diabetes.
Well, but here's the thing. People, do you guys even in the audience know that diabetes is an autoimmune disease? Your doctors don't even know that. If you actually do have diabetes, even if you did, that's an autoimmune disease, not just a blood sugar problem, right? And remember the example I was bringing up with Vanessa's child has PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, hormonal problem. But that hormone problem is considered to be pre-diabetes. So if diabetes is an autoimmune disease, what do you guys think this hormone problem, PCOS, is? It's an autoimmune hormone problem. So it like goes full circle. All these things people have no idea are even, people have no idea these things are even autoimmune, are totally linked with autoimmunity.
I'm so curious to hear, not from Amanda, because I know she didn't take advantage of it, but from Tara and Chris, you know, once you get those food mapping results in the program, and once you understand more about blood sugar from the program, what was it like to work with Allie then during the program to incorporate this into your life?
It was awesome. I don't know. Yeah. It was very easy to talk to, and you just kind of put it all out there, and she's encouraging and just helps walk you through what to change, and then checks back in on you afterwards, and you see the progress. So
yeah, because I know when I sat in on one of her sessions, she was even going as far as, you know, looking through ingredients and helping recommend certain types of foods. And I just thought that was mind-blowingly helpful because to have that support, somebody really holding your hand and helping you understand, okay, what can my daily life look like when it comes to my diet to help me heal my autoimmunity? Chris, what was it like for you?
We love working with Allie. She's I enjoy the idea that you know, when people are bringing her their issues with the food, or maybe there's a link that they want, which I think is a tremendous thing, where she could reference something. So sometimes you could be you know, listening to a call or whatever, and then you can go back and reference stuff that she says. And I think that's a really important thing. And she puts in a lot of effort to listen to what people have going on, and to kind of piece it together, and then also provide you a great solution and a way to, you know, stay in touch with that solution. So
well, and think about this, how many doctors in the audience, and you guys included as well, have worked with a doctor on your autoimmune disease that gives a rat's ass about nutrition? Right?
They just don't know anything about how it impacts autoimmune.
They really don't, because how many people out there have doctors who said nutrition doesn't matter, the food you eat doesn't matter. Go ahead and eat whatever you want.
They tell cancer patients, eat whatever you want. We just need you to gain weight. Eat whatever you want.
Here's some Ensure.
Yes. Here's some Ensure.
Ensure for you.
I had a rheumatologist tell me that their food does not matter at all with your situation. And I was reluctant, you know, with that advice. And he almost kind of came across like, you know what, even though if I was to tell people that food would matter, that people don't have the willpower to, you know, even stick with it. And that was another kind of a vibe I got from the guy, where I thought, wow, that's, you know, obviously that's bad advice. But, you know, why are you saying that? And I believe he believed both. I believe that he really didn't think that food did. And even if food did matter, you know, most people I deal with can't stick with it anyways. And I was blown away by that advice.
That's so insulting.
I think if people really knew, and people in our audience is that smart, that this is, their diet impacts them so much that their lives depend on it. Not only does it matter, our lives is depending on actually doing this work. And there's immediate tangible results, sometimes within 12 to 24 hours. And then long term, it's huge, it's tangible, it's real. And it's so interesting. I would love for you to go back to the same rheumatologist and show him where your symptoms are at now.
And the other part of it is, you know, for that rheumatologist to say, well, people don't have the willpower, because that's also making the assumption, number one, you're not giving them very much credit, your clients and patients giving them much credit, but also that's assuming that they have to eat things that they hate and it's going to be miserable. Diet is a miserable thing you have to suffer through to be healthy, when we know that not everybody likes everything, but like, we eat food that we love, and there's always a way to make something that you love, and lots of things that you love, or make a thing in a different way so that you love it, because you might not like it one way, but this way is so good. So like, that's part of what we do. What Maggie and I love to do is like find ways for people to love eating, because we love to eat. There's always something for somebody. You cannot like something, that's okay. We're gonna find something else, because you gotta eat. You gotta eat.
Right?
Yiddish mother and me, eat, mama, eat. Like, you gotta eat.
Yeah. And I've gotten to like I don't know, my food has expanded exponentially on this program because I have been, encouraged to try different things that before I maybe would have been like, I'm not going to try that. And having a lifestyle that's constantly on the go, I was in a very bad habit of living off of fast food restaurants, which we all know are horrible. And so like learning to do that prep beforehand, so I have quick on the go stuff, and like focusing on, different key factors, like the things that help our livers detox, has been, well, I'm sure Dr. Maggie remembers I got my food sensitivity test and had no sensitivities. And I was like, food freedom.
Well, people always think that food mapping means they eat less food, and food mapping means they eat a hell of a lot more food and have a lot more variety, diversity.
Yeah.
And then they learn to fall back in love with food. It really, that's my goal. It's funny, when I was a kid, my Chinese people love to give nicknames to their kids. They're always derogatory somehow. And mine was Wai Sik Mao, which means hungry little kitty. Like always like, ooh, what you cooking, Mom? Like, the kids like, what? And I love bringing the heritage of, like, I learned how to cook from my mom. And I love to cook. I am a foodie. Not only do I love to eat, I love to cook. And the thing is, I'm gluten-free and I have certain food sensitivities, but I love the creativity that gives me to be really like, I look at it almost like a challenge, like, oh, you can't eat this, or this. Great. Here's what you can do. To me, it's like a puzzle, and I love to figure out there's going to be a way to deal with this, no matter what the problem is. There's many ways to deal with it if you're open and curious to learning.
And Maggie,
Picky eater right here, and I can still find lots of things to eat. Sorry, Ann.
Yeah, a lot of picky eaters as well, I'm sure. So good to know that you have options and you get more options going through the program. But you're just talking about how you're a foodie, and I know everybody knows that you're a foodie MD. I think we give everybody a teaser. This is something you and I have been talking about. If you'd like to see Dr. Maggie do one of these lives from her own kitchen and talk about some of the foods that she makes, and even maybe incorporating one of her new products into it, let us know if you'd like to see what are some of the recipes that she likes to make, and we will get her in the kitchen doing a live. Let us know in the comments, because I think that could be really fun. And Maggie, I think you're up for it, right?
I am up for it. I actually haven't done a Foodie MD in the kitchen with me in a while. So if you guys are interested in it, if there's enough of you in the comments wanting me to do a in my kitchen with Dr. Maggie segment or show, I would love to do it. Because I just love it, and it just comes to my head, so I've done a ton of cooking videos that have been shared in the group. If you guys are interested already seeing some of the cooking lives that I've done, you can put cooking live into the comments section, or because I've done hormone balancing quiche. I've made the fat bombs live. I've done my slaw, my hormone balancing slaw. There's so many things. I've done unboxings, so many different things. So if you're interested,
we're getting a lot of comments.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Ann, are you up for it next?
I think we'll put it on the schedule, and we'll see how quickly we can go ahead and get in the kitchen.
I would love it.
All right. Now, did we touch on each of the myths? I know we talked about each myth, but I just want to make sure that everybody in the audience knows clearly the 5 myths. Should we run through them?
Absolutely. Number 1 myth is that fasting is the solution to autoimmunity. Okay. That's number 1 myth. Fasting is the solution for autoimmunity. Okay. Now, myth number 2 is you only have a blood sugar problem if you're a diabetic. Myth number 3.
Sound that's busted.
Myth number 3. Eating before bed is bad for you. Not true at all. Myth number 4. Eating regularly will cause you to gain weight. Amanda, 30 pounds weight loss later. And then here's the thing. Myth number 5. We talked all around it. And the myth number 5 is blood sugar mastery just means cutting out sugar.
So a lot of people do think that.
It's not true. If cutting out sugar was all it took, none of you here needed my help because you've tried it and done that. Okay. Somebody said keto, all the stuff, right? So absolutely, cutting out sugar doesn't equal blood sugar mastery. In fact, eating a ton of well-balanced meals and their specific way to balance it regularly is really the key. But there's all these tips and tricks that we've talked about, but also support, right? I think reviewing Food Journal with Allie, being able to talk to her, do this, not that. There's a lot of pieces that goes to it. So it's not just cutting out sugar. If that's what you guys think, I hope the last thing you think is, oh, I'm just going to cut out sugar and it's going to solve all my problems. No. We got to address some of these digestion issues, hydration issues. We got to address food mapping issues. And then also eating regularly, well-balanced is going to be really important. Balancing your macronutrients. So much bigger than that. So those are the 5 myths, Anne.
Okay. You've busted them. Dr. Maggie is a myth buster. We've been so lucky to have so much additional information from our functional nutritionist, Allie. And I'd love to hear from our panel, Amanda, Tara, and Chris. You guys each touched on all of the problems you were having before, but I'd really like to hear just quickly where your life is now and how you attribute blood sugar as one of the primary reasons why things have hopefully improved. Amanda?
Yeah, well, I'll start with just one quick story because I probably didn't realize until much later in the program how much balancing my blood sugar in the beginning of the program really affected my life, to the point where, like, I talked a little bit about how I was prior to the program, but one of the things I didn't say was I couldn't ride in a car more than 15 minutes without excruciating pain and burning and electrical shocks on my feet. And so I went back on my calendar actually a little bit ago to see, I took a spur of the moment weekend trip to Florida. It was at the end of week 3 in the program. So that was an hour drive to the airport, a 2.5-hour flight to Florida, and an hour drive from the airport to my parents' house. I was able to be a part of my sister's baby shower, and then make that trip back home. And one of the things my younger brother had just been down visiting, and he was on a much different, more restrictive weight loss program. He's doing his thing. And my parents are like, well, we want to go out to eat, but wait, can you? And I'm like, the only thing I can't have is gluten. Like, we can go wherever you want. Like, pick a restaurant. There's something I can eat. And they were like, what? But you're in this program. And I'm like, yeah, I can eat, pretty much normal. I just have to be wise in my food choices and not eat gluten. So like, that was amazing. And it dawned, when I look back and I was like, oh, it's at the end of week 3. When I, just in the beginning of understanding hydration and blood sugar balance. And so now fast forward 3 weeks out of the program. And my big takeaway is you have to continue to do what you've learned. I think it's easy as individuals when you start feeling better and you're sleeping at night and you're not nauseous in the morning and you're eating your protein at night so that you're actually sleeping and pain is reduced to start to fall back into some old habits if you're not keenly aware of what you're doing. And so like it just took like less than 1 day of like not being mindful of eating when my body was telling me to eat, for like some joint pain to come back. And I was like, whoa, hold on, stop. And so the proof is really in the pudding, because you can go through the program, you can do everything, you can say, I'm getting these results. And then accidentally get gluten and you're like, oh yeah, that's how bad gluten affects me, or not continue with balancing your blood sugars and be like, oh yeah, like my blood sugar's low, I'm experiencing anxiety, or my joint pain's flaring, or my neuropathy is off the chain tonight. Gotta love those margaritas, they kill me.
Me too.
So like I've seen, I mentioned a little bit, I'm sleeping better. My brain fog is gone. Like Chris, I had symptoms in my hands where there were days I couldn't pick up an ink pen to work. at my desk to do administrative stuff. I haven't had those symptoms since week 3 in my hands. My feet have gone from a 10 out of 10 every day to they average about a 4, but I have complete hours in the middle of my day with no pain at all. And I haven't experienced that since 2019. I've been in 24/7 pain since 2019 until going through this program. I have energy. I know we said this in one of my other interviews, but my libido has returned. Like there's so much, like I could talk forever, but I know like everybody else needs to share too. Like every symptom that I came into the program with, and it was long, it filled a whole page, has improved and will only continue to get better as I continue imploring those 5 pillars of health and sticking with it. And so just like if you make it through the program, don't forget what you learned. You got to keep doing it.
Amazing. Amanda, thank you. Tara, I'm curious to hear about what's been going on with you and especially your undifferentiated connective tissue disease.
Yeah, actually, so I started the program last October, so like almost a year ago, and I just had a follow-up with my rheumatologist, and all of my labs are in normal range for the very first time, like all of my autoimmune labs. I know, yeah. But I will follow up, and obviously, like I said, you know, my symptoms have been better too, but I will also piggyback on what Amanda said. So I feel like I have been really committed to sticking with blood sugar and everything that I've been doing just because I've had such good results. It's like motivating, you know? But I was in a situation this summer that was out of my control. I went and worked as a camp nurse for a couple of months in Maine, and it was so fun. It was one of my goals was actually to be able to go do this and be healthy. And I came in quite healthy and I still left healthy, but there was a point in the middle, so I was having to eat food that I wasn't preparing, right? And did the best that I could, but I did start to have issues and I did start to feel dizzy, and I was like, all right. And I just ended up buying all of my own things and doing what I need to do. I made like a porridge out of flax meal. I don't know. I just did it, and then I felt fine again. So it's just proof right there. So
I'm so happy for you, and thank you for and what a fun experience to have this summer too.
It was awesome. Yeah.
And Chris, you talked about your surgery and a little bit about how much better you've been doing since then, but how's everything else going on in life?
Everything's going on good. Yeah, absolutely. I had talked to Dr. Maggie, last week about kind of a road trip story that I had too. And I had a lot of, 8-hour, 9 hours in a car. And I would have similar situations where, those of us that deal with inflammation, sitting in the same positions, to me, it was just kind of a nerve wracking almost where you're like, I'm doomed for a backache on this one. And my ankles are going to be swollen, and I'm going to get out of the car, when I finally get there and be hobbling around. And I'm also agreeing with what Tara said. What helped me was also planning. I'm thinking, okay, I got like 2 days on the road and I got a group of people and we're going to be stopping at, random diners off the 15 up through, to Montana. And you're just thinking, oh my goodness, you're not going to have these dining options that, you're used to. And we've been you get on the program and you get focused and you get in a good mode. And then you get into the real world and you start, okay, all right, I need to kind of adapt here. I need to make some moves to just plan ahead, you know what I mean? And make your proper snacks. And it really not that big of a deal, actually. And if you get out and you stay doing all the stuff that, that we're being trained to do here and that we do, it's great. Worked out great. I mean, I had a great time. So, and it worked out good. So,
no skin off your back.
And with the hand too, is, I was really anticipating, okay, this is going to be a tough one. It's going to have a lot of healing issues, but it's the exact opposite. So it's been great.
Incredible. And Allie, if you could leave everybody in the audience with one important note, one main thing you want them to know about blood sugar mastery, what would it be?
Eating is good for you. Listen to your body. If you are having symptoms, you gotta listen to your body. When you are experiencing symptoms, it's telling you something. Feed your body. Food is medicine. There's a lot of different things.
But I think Allie's point is your body, the symptoms from your body is actually data.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my big takeaway from all this is I always teach it in the program. Yes, we provide medical data in the program, but I also am teaching all of you guys what is the data your body is telling you.
Mm-hmm.
If you learn to be aware of it, then you can't unsee it after that. It's going to be like,
Mhm.
wow, me and my body are in sync. It's giving me data all the freaking time.
Mhm.
That's actionable. So we learned at what? Listen and trust our bodies.
Mhm.
And then as a result, we can actually heal our bodies. But we're not listening, we're not trusting, and then we don't heal. So they all go together. Listen, trust, and then you heal.
So important.
Yes.
And Dr. Maggie, I know you have additional resources for anybody out
Yeah.
there who wants more information.
Yeah, I think for people out there, if this really rang some light bulbs for you, I'd love for you to comment below and tell me what's going on with the autoimmune. What connection between blood sugar and your autoimmune issues are you finally making? Is this the first time you heard somebody really put this together for you? If you could give me some kudos, tell me what the connection you're making is in the comment section below. That'd be super great. For anybody who's interested in learning more about our program, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally, go ahead and type, we're going to share a link in the comment section for you to start a chat with our team so you can learn more. We literally have hundreds of resources around blood sugar, any autoimmune diagnosis, any symptom, but you got to tell us what you need. So type in the comment section below, check your message request from us in Facebook. For those of you that are watching from YouTube or IG, feel free to comment. We also respond to those comments as well. So here's to our totally BS party today, blood sugar party, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon. I want to thank you, our guests, and our special guest, Allison.